Francois Bernier really called India degenerate? I mean, degenerate as compared to Western Europe. In his book Travels in the Mughal Empire, Francois Bernier compares Mughal India, to Western Europe and portrays it as sort of inferior to Western Europe. All right, and there are multiple dimensions, multiple explanations to this statement of Francois Bernier calling India degenerate. Okay, and in this video, we're going to find out we're going to analyze these multiple reasons as to why, according to Francois Bernier, India was degenerate. Hello everybody, welcome back to Unimonks. My name is Padmanjali Chauhan and I'll be teaching you for the CUET history domain. Today we're going to continue with the last part of our 5th unit on the travelers of medieval India, and we're going to start with the subtopic Bernier and the degenerate East. Alright, so Bernier, as I said earlier, compared India to Europe, alright, and he makes these comparisons in order to make the intelligentsia and the ruling elite of Mughal India realize that they need to do better, okay, they need to do better and make the right decisions in order to be able to make Mughal India as superior or at least at par with Western Europe, okay. Now, as I said previously, when he draws these comparisons, he makes India look much inferior to the Western world. Okay. Now, what are these sort of parallels, these lines of comparison? Okay. Number one is private property. Okay. In India, according to Bernier, there was private property essentially did not exist. Okay. Crown ownership of land existed. Okay. Where the ruler and his nobles owned the land and peasants just worked on it. Okay. Because of this, according to Bernier, because there was no private property, the peasants that were working on this land had no sort of incentive, okay, to improve the condition of agriculture at the time, okay. They had no incentive to expand production, and which led to ruination of agriculture and oppressed peasantry and decline in the living standards of the people at the time, except for the ruling elite, right? Now, according to Bernier, there was no middle state in India, okay? There was no middle class. It was just the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor, okay? Moving on. The thing is, Bernier, his writings, okay, about this private property and crown ownership of land, it influenced multiple writers of the 18th century, okay, multiple theorists of the 18th century. For example, because taking Bernier's writing as his prime example, Montesquieu writes about Oriental despotism, okay, and Karl Marx uses or develops the concept of Asiatic mode of production using Bernier's writing as his central theme, okay. Now, the thing is, if you want to know more about these terms, Oriental despotism and Asiatic mode of production, you need to join the Unimonks community, okay? You'll see a QR code on your screen right now. You need to scan that QR code and download the Unimonks app, okay? In this application, we give you organized study material for all your domain subjects for your general test for CUET 2024, okay? Apart from that, we, the mentors, will give you online tests, okay? You can have a live chat with us where you can ask us questions, you can get all your doubts solved. Finally, we'll give you online assignments, we'll give you domain-related information, CUET-related information, many, many more, okay? So join the Unimonks community, become a part of us. Let's move on to a more complex social reality. I've said this time and again, social realities were not as simple as they seemed at the time, okay? Especially about the social realities that Bernier wrote. So now, Bernier, as you must have realized by now, he projected the Mughal Empire as being very tyrannical, okay, very oppressive. And that is sort of, you can take up the example of, let's say, imperial camps, okay? He called Mughal towns imperial camps, in which by that he means that they flourished, okay, their existence and their foundation was dependent on the imperial court. So till the time the imperial court was situated in that place, that town was flourishing both economically and socially. But the second the imperial court left, the imperial camp left, it started declining again, okay. But the thing is, this is quite untrue, okay, because apart from like imperial centers, there were other towns that existed in the Mughal Empire as well. For example, you have your port towns, you have your manufacturing towns, you have pilgrimage towns, right? And many, many more. Therefore, Bernier's comparisons sort of fall short, okay? They're incomplete, okay? Now, in these other towns, especially in manufacturing towns, merchants had a strong community, okay? They built a strong community, or what you call kin ties, okay? We see the existence or the coming up of Mahajans, of Seths, and Nagar Seths, okay? So now Mahajans were the community of, was the merchant class. The community of merchant class was called Mahajans. Their chiefs, okay, were called Sheths, okay? Now, in Ahmedabad, the chief of the Mahajan was called the Nagar Seth, alright? Apart from merchants, you obviously have other professional classes as well. For example, you have your doctors, the physicians, what at the time were called Veds, okay? You have your teachers, you have painters, you have architects, okay? Multiple professional classes that were patronized by multiple people, okay? They weren't only patronized by the imperial household, but by ordinary people as well, because these people sat in the bazaars. I talked about the bazaars in the previous videos, right? Very flourishing, very lively places. So these professional classes, like let's say the painters and the lawyers and the architects, they sat in these bazaars and ordinary people gave them money to sort of do work for them, right? Okay. Now, let's come to the last topic, women, their situation, okay? Slaves, sati, and laborers. Now, travelers see social inequalities in Mughal India as being natural, okay? As being a natural state of affairs. So when let's say Ibn Battuta writes about slaves, he says that they were sold in the market and they were regularly gifted by one person to another person, okay? For example, when he was coming to meet Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he bought slaves and horses and gifted them to Muhammad bin Tughlaq, okay? The female slaves that were in service of the Sultan were experts in dance and music. Again, I take up the example of Pakiza for this, right? If you watch the movie, I highly recommend you do. It will make you understand those times much better, okay? So, watch the movie Pakiza and you'll understand how female slaves were treated at the time, okay? Pakiza, you have Mughal-e-Azam as well. Mughal-e-Azam, beautiful cinematography, beautiful story, very, very well acted, very, very well written. Watch it. Understand what the times were like at the time, okay? It's a long movie, I know, but a movie is a movie, okay? Now, the prices of female slaves was very low, and because of that, every household was able to afford, like most households, sorry, not every household, but most households were able to afford about 1 or 2 slaves to do domestic work for them, okay? Now, apart from this, travelers were not just in the sense of slavery, but travelers in general were very intrigued by the condition of women of Indian society at the time, okay? According to Bernier, the treatment of women marked another difference between Eastern and Western societies, okay? So, for example, about sati, he said that some women accepted it wholeheartedly, okay? They embraced death, whereas some were sort of forced into committing the action of sati, okay? They were not ecstatic about it. They were not happy about it. And this he uses as an example that women were treated far worse in India than they were treated in Western Europe. How much of that is true? How much of that is untrue? We can't really say, right? Now, the thing is, the view that these writers hold of women again is quite incomplete, because women at the time were very crucial, okay, were very crucial labor, right, in agricultural and non-agricultural activities. So obviously, farming, agriculture, women are just, they're another hand, like they're another pair of hands to help you with the farming activities. Whereas in non-agricultural activities, you see female merchants coming up, okay. Females that belong to merchant families, they took part in activities like, for example, women went to court to fight cases against, something must have happened, okay, like to sue someone or to multiple reasons, okay. But basically saying that women were a part of the social and economic activities that were taking place at the time, okay. They weren't just expected to sit idle at home. So, reiterating my point, the sort of the opinion that they hold of the treatment of women, the opinion that they hold of the existence of women at the time is very, very incomplete. All right, that is it for today, guys. That is how I end my chapter. Uh, Sort of makes you think about society, about the treatment of women, okay? Makes you think about a lot of things, about how wrong or actually, let me ask you this. Do you think that Bernier was right when he called India degenerate? Alright, tell me in the comments down below. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any trivia to share, leave it in the comments down below. Answer my question also. Do you really think that Bernier was right when he called India degenerate? And do you think that what he writes about the treatment of women and what Indian historians write about the treatment of women at the time are sort of similar? Do they have any parallels? Let me know. And for more such informational content, please don't forget to subscribe to Young Moms. Thank you for watching. Bye.